Hello, Hokie Nation. Welcome into this edition of the Friday Q&A, of course, on video with Chris Coleman, lead analyst and columnist here at Tech Sideline. But to answer your guys' questions, you could always check out his article for some more in-depth stuff on this weekend's contest with ODU. I'm Kyle Marchak, Chris Coleman on set. You ready to roll?
Let's go.
All right. VT Griff 09 asked, what suggestions would you have for Bowen to go about getting the ball distributed to all of his wide receiving playmakers? Jalen Lane, Quan Felton, Ollie Jennings all came back to improve their NFL stock, but they're not really getting targeted.
Well, that was always going to be an issue this year. There's so many wide receivers, and Virginia Tech should be a run-heavy team or a run-first team. So it was always going to be an issue with number of catchable balls for each receiver. Like Ollie Jennings was never going to catch the 70-some passes in this offense that he called at Old Dominion, where he was one of only 2 or 3 good players on the team. So, of course, you're going to get targeted a lot in that situation. I think the best way to open up the passing game is to run the football. It's not going to get each guy a billion catches, but it's going to give them more quality opportunities, I think. You didn't see any one Virginia Tech wide receiver catch a ton of balls last year. I think Jalen Lane caught 44, and I think that was the team lead, if I recall. But Daquan Felton turned himself into an NFL prospect, and he caught 30-something passes. But they were big plays. Most of them were big plays that happened off a successful running game. So for for the Hokies, the key to the offense is running the ball, because if they don't run the ball successfully, and they're out there just throwing it a whole bunch, and it's an inefficient passing game, you're just going to be asking the question, shouldn't we be getting more out of these guys? But if we're throwing the ball this much, and they've only have so many catches. So to me, the key to everything is running the football.
Yeah, that seems to be the overwhelming thought here, is just running it down their throats and starting early with that. So just to expand upon it, just 3 targets versus Marshall for Ollie Jennings. Is it the route running? Is it, really just the fact that they haven't opened up the passing game?
Man, I don't even remember the 3, to be honest with you. He was just out there. Well, he was so
Tony
uninvolved.
Snell, just running.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a little bit of everything. Obviously, I don't think Drones had his best half in the first half. They're flooding. What they're doing, Kyle, I've got my sheet right here. Teams are running zone 81% of the time and only blitzing 21% of the time. So they're basically rushing 4 and just dropping a large number of players back into zone coverage. And there's a lot more players to navigate than he had to deal with last year. That's how opposing defensive coordinators apparently decided in the offseason they were going to try to defend Virginia Tech this year. And so far it's working as far as defending the passing game's going. So he's got to get used to that, just seeing more bodies in the passing lane. And Tech will have to scheme some things up, hopefully, to help him out with that.
Yeah, and then why blitz when you're getting a ton of sacks, unfortunately, anyways, too.
Right.
So.
Exactly.
All right. Rhino VT asked, are punt return touchdowns just a guy making a great play, or was there something schematic? I'm sure he's assuming, talking about Jalen Lane.
Yeah, so. I can't speak to that specific play, but yes, there are designed punt returns, just like there are designed kickoff returns. I know more about kickoff returns. There's a reason like kickoff returners are generally always your kickoff, running backs are always your kickoff return guys, because those are like running plays. I mean, you can do things like call trap plays and things like that on your kickoff returns, and you can really set up these. Like if you really look at a bird's eye view of a kickoff return, you could view it as a normal running play, like with some of the designs. Punt return's a little bit different, of course, but yes, they do have design setups and things like that, and some of them can be a little more complicated than your return left, return right, return center, like in NCAA football, right? I don't know as much about punt returns, but I can assure you that football coaches aren't going to just throw 11 guys out on the field without a plan.
Yeah.
There are definitely designed plays. I've actually never researched that before, so. If he asked that question for next week's Q&A on the board again, I can just as a reminder, I can actually do you put that question in my actual column next week. I think that'd be pretty interesting research.
So, just out of curiosity, were you surprised that Lane decided to take that one?
Yes. I saw all the bodies around him, and it's one of those no, yes moments. It was going to be good field position either way.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit surprised, but you've got to trust your players, and he's an experienced punt returner, and was one of the top 10 punt returners in the country, I think, 2 years ago. So, yeah, you let him make that call. And that's one of the toughest things to do in football is catch a punt in traffic like that with so many guys around you. Like, imagine being a center fielder in baseball, but the other team just sends like 4 guys out of the dugout to surround you and screw with you catching the ball, and how difficult that would be. Well, it's even worse for a punt returner because you could get lit up at any moment.
Right. Cool. All right. Last question I have for you. VT2SR asked, are we using as much pre-snap motion as we were most of last year? It seems like the significant catalyst for our turnaround offensively was a lot of that.
Yes, actually. I know I don't have last year's number exactly, but we are running motion on 76% of offensive snaps. It looks like, if I can do quick math in my head, that the college average 2 years ago in 2022 was 32%. So, the Hokies are more than doubling that up this year. So, yes, this is still a motion-heavy offense. I think maybe what you haven't seen is quite as many like end rounds or running back passes and things like that. And that, like, when one of those motion guys gets the ball or catches a pass, you recognize the motion.
Right.
But when it's a guy runs in motion and you run his own read or something, and the motion man doesn't get the ball or he's not really involved in the play, you don't notice it as much. But yes, there's still plenty of eye candy to Virginia Tech's offense this year.
Yeah, I guess when you play Vanderbilt week 1, it looks like you're not running as much motion. And then on top of that, I think the only end around that I can remember is like Takai Heath.
Takai Heath against Vanderbilt, which worked.
Yeah.
So worked very well. So that's probably something they've got to scheme back in at some point.
Cool. All right. Well, that's all I've got for you. Anything else on your mind?
I don't think there's really anything on my mind this week other than the fact that we need to go 2-1 here this week, because you've got Rutgers and Miami on the horizon, and those are going to be 2 very, very difficult games for the Hokies. Miami's so talented, obviously. Rutgers is extremely well coached, and their style of play was sort of the style that was Virginia Tech's kryptonite. So Virginia Tech has improvements to make, and they have to make them this week because the schedule's about to toughen up.
Sweet. Where are you going to be this week? Are you going out there?
I'm not. I'll be in Blacksburg. I just haven't decided where I'm going to watch the game yet. I might actually stay home and watch it. It's streamed, which is weird that a game's not on actual television.
Yeah, that is interesting. Maybe go find a bar too. Coleman's up in Syracuse.
Go all the way to Syracuse to watch the game.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate you, Chris. So for Chris Coleman, lead analyst and columnist, of course, the producer behind the desk, Nick Brown, I'm Kyle Marchak. Leave your guys' suggestions down below. Let us know what you want to change about this segment. But until next week, I'll catch you guys.